to Australia for a whole month back in 2006 because of Rotary. Rotary paid all the expenses, and of course, all of my children have been involved in youth exchange. So we have friends literally all over the world, which is just pretty amazing. I think Holly just had a visit from a young lady from Australia that I got to visit last year.
That my daughter stayed with in Australia.
So yeah, Rotary is the vehicle that's allowed me to do all those things. So in my mind, I can never repay Rotary for all the good things that it's done for me in my life. So therefore, I try to be generous with Rotary. And I know that's not for everybody, but for me, it makes me feel good about me and about the world. So that's why I do that. So thank you so much. We got people here from every walk of life. Baseball fans, sports fans, probably some people that aren't sports fans at all. Stubby was here last year, and thank goodness he's here again today. I bet he's going to tell us a little bit about the mental part of baseball, but the mental part of work goes with, we got a lot of bankers here. If we were making 7 bad loans out of 10, we probably wouldn't have a job very long, or if we did, it would be playing on our head. And with baseball players, that's kind of the way that works, you fail in baseball 7 times out of 10.
You're really rich.
Yeah. So be sure and think up questions and ask him. But I've been a Cardinal fan for, since like 1960. So I know how much I love the Cardinals. And I was so thrilled to find out that we had a St. Louis Cardinal coach in Savannah. So we're really thrilled to have him in our area. Thank you for coming. So tell us your story.
Thank you for having me. Again, I was here last year, and so from last year to this year, first of all, I apologize to all the Cardinals fans for last year's season. Was not exactly as planned. It didn't go as well as we went. If you're LA fan, Atlanta fan, Cubs fan, you're welcome. You're welcome, but we didn't play as well as we should have. Now, last year was a trying season. And that's a part of baseball. It's a part of sports, and you're not going to have the best seasons every year. And last year it felt like every time we tried to fix something to get something going and get something rolling, that it snowballed on us and actually got worse. So as you talk about the mental part of it, when you're going through the day-to-day grind and you're going through the day-to-day activities and routines and you're trying to figure things out, the mental part, when it doesn't work out, is actually a really tough situation. And listen, I'm not making excuses or anything like that, but it's a part of life. Whether it's sports, or whether it's banking, or whether it's the rock industry, or whether it's whatever, the education system, and you're the principal, or you're the AD, or whatever it is. When stuff goes wrong and it's on your shoulders, if you care enough, it weighs on you. And that's what happened last year. For us, especially as a staff. We were blessed that we got to keep our jobs. Usually when something silly like that happens, people lose their jobs, but St. Louis was good enough to keep us around because they know how much we care as a staff. And I think throughout the off season this year, we've all been in touch with each other, and we've pretty much vowed to each other that it's not going to happen again on our time. So we're looking forward. We're looking forward to the spring training to see what we can get going again and get some guys going in the right direction, get the team and the culture going in the right direction. As you know, every year you have player changes and stuff like that, so you always have to rebuild a culture. Sometimes there's a there's a core of guys that stick around, which that's what we had. We've got a good core of guys that have stuck around or whatever, and then you add pieces to it. So then you've got to rebuild that culture and see how those pieces are going to fit in and how they're going to help, hopefully affect it in a positive manner and help things go in the right direction. So that's what we're looking forward to especially with the pitchers that we just saw with Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn and those guys. We're looking forward to having a better culture. Obviously, We signed Matt Carpenter back to another year, see what he can help us do. And then we extended Tommy Edmond for 2 more years, so that's a huge asset. If you guys watch Tommy play, he can play any position on the field. I would say maybe first base he might be vertically challenged, but he could probably do it. He could probably catch too if we need him. So having him every day in the lineup for us is huge. He will probably play. I'm guessing. I'm not the manager, so I'm not going to tell you exactly what he's going to do. But if I'm guessing, he's probably going to play center field. We'll have Donovan and Gorman to play second base. We'll have Mason Wynn at short, which is. Did anybody get to watch Mason play shortstop last year? Like, if you haven't watched a kid play shortstop, watch this kid play shortstop this year. Even if it's like, it just pops in your mind, hey, Stubby said this kid Mason Wynn. Watch this kid, just watch one game. He's going to make a play that you're going to be like, oh, wow, that's special. He is, he's maybe about 2 inches taller than I am. I might outweigh him by probably about 20 pounds right now. And this kid is just phenomenal with his speed, and he throws the ball across the infield at 100 miles an hour, which is rare. You know, you see guys on the mound that are throwing 100 miles an hour as a pitcher. This guy throws the ball across the field from shortstop at 100 miles an hour. So to get to see him play, I think it's really special. So, and I think that's going to help anchor down our defense this year, which kind of took a hit last year with the shift changes and stuff like that. We weren't allowed to shift. We had to go back to a traditional defense and stuff like that. And it didn't work well for us last year. So I think with the addition of the pitching, like I said, with Mason playing shortstop every day now, and Bob Gorman, obviously Goldie and Arenado on the corners. We'll have our pillars a little bit on the corners, and then you'll have Newt, Eddie in center, Newton left, and then Jordan Walker. They'll be playing right for us, so that'll be fun to see him develop. I don't know if you guys got to see him play. It was rough at times watching him play right field, but just to give you guys an idea of the kind of athlete he is, he learned to play right field in the big leagues last year. He'd only played a handful of games in the outfield period in between AA and AAA as an athlete. So he actually learned to play right field in the big leagues last year, and not only is it hard to like play your own position in the big leagues at a high level, but he's actually learning a new position. So I take that with a grain of salt as far as his defensive play. Wasn't pretty, but he went out there every day. I know how hard he worked. I got to see it every day. He was out working every day, and so my hat's off to him. For the resiliency we talked about earlier about the mental grind, like the mental grind that he was going through, trying to perform offensively and then play a new position. I mean, this kid was special. He hit 270 last year as a freshman, as a rookie, and I don't know what his OPS was. I forget what that is, but he had 15 home runs, and to be able to put those numbers up as a rookie, and then this kid's a special athlete. So we're looking forward to a better defensive and offensive year this year. Obviously, Contreras is a huge help with his stick, and he'll be back behind the plate again this year, I believe. I don't know who our backup is going to be. We obviously lost Andrew Kisner. He went and signed with Texas. That's not only a loss for our team, as a backup catcher, but his personality and enthusiasm in the clubhouse will be missed. He's a great player, but he's a great teammate. And you talk about culture again. That one kind of hurt.
How
we lost him.
important is the clubhouse culture?
I'll just say this. Let's just say you guys are all bankers, right? I'm just gonna throw it out there. You're all bankers. You all know how to count money. You all know how to do your accounting. You all know how to do everything that happens in a bank. Where your bank's competing against Central Bank in Savannah. They all know how to do everything, right? So how is that bank gonna outperform this bank? It's gonna be the culture. 100%. It's gonna be the camaraderie and the culture that you guys create amongst each other to actually wanna do what you wanna do to be able to make this place successful. That's the difference. You know, we were talking about LA earlier, going and spending all the money that they've spent to put this super team together. That's great. Yes, those guys deserve to be paid that money. They're great athletes. But in the end, it's gonna be their camaraderie and their culture that's gonna get them to perform together on the field and do things in the right manner, right? Because it's easy when everything's going great, but what happens when stuff goes south? Like, how do you guys bounce back? You know, when things don't get done the right way, how do you guys respond to that? Do you fold and walk the other way, or do you pull your sleeves up and try and figure out how to fix it and make it better? So, and that's a part of culture, you know what I mean? So that's a huge thing. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, and that's something that I've learned over the past couple of years. You know, you hear about it so much. As an athlete coming up, you hear about it, like you gotta have a good culture, you gotta have good teammates, you gotta pull for each other, you gotta back each other up. So when you're in the midst of the battleground and on the field, yeah, that's easy to do when you're actually competing for each other. But when you're coaching, it's like you have that camaraderie as coaches together, but then how do you get the players and the other people that are involved with the organization to pull in the same direction? So it's a tough rope. It's a tough rope to pull on. You gotta pull in the right ways, and not everybody has the same thoughts of how to do it. So it's trying to find those common grounds and trying to find those common beliefs to be able to get it done. And sometimes there's a little bit of give, sometimes there's a little bit of take, and hopefully end up in the right way. But it is a constant work in progress. And it always needs to be nurtured. It's not just like you walk in and you put these two pieces together and you're like, okay, boom, here we go, we got our culture, and you let it go. Because something happens, and then this guy gets a little wayward over here, and then this guy gets a little wayward over here. You've got to constantly nurture culture to keep it going in the right direction. That's a good question.
Sometimes when a team trades for a player or signs a player, the comment is, well, this person is a great clubhouse person. So what characteristics, I guess, does that person have that they're looking for?
Well, number one, obviously they're live. They're lively. Like, they're engaged with the other people in the clubhouse, whether it's the staff or the players or the training staff and or like the clubhouse staff. They're engaged and they're invested in what's happening in the clubhouse, right? So you've got the field when it's time to play between the lines, and then you've got the culture and the livelihood of what happens in the clubhouse. You know, between meetings and conversations and hanging out with each other, playing cards, whether it's playing cards or video games with each other, investing in each other off the field. You know, I think that goes under the clubhouse. You know, going to breakfast, going to dinner, going to lunch with guys, talking shop. Investing in guys beyond what happens between the lines is huge. So when you get guys that are traded for and you hear they're a good clubhouse guy, those guys have those characteristics. They'll invest in other guys on the team to help make their lives better, whether it's on the field or off the field, and they care about helping guys develop their skills, their mindset, whether they're committed to a team or not, or whether they're just there to play for themselves and get a contract. Like, when you get guys that are clubhouse guys, they have those types of characteristics that are huge in bringing everybody together. What you got, Holly?
So obviously last year was not a great year. It's trying, but what effect did having those veteran players in 2022 have on the culture of the clubhouse? Because I know that obviously Pujols was just there for just 1 year at the end, but I feel like, you know, knowing I guess of quite a bit about Cardinal Nation and just about the organization, I feel like it's one of those places, obviously, that proves that it's about culture when you bring in guys like Lance Lynn, like Matt Carpenter, who may only be here for another couple of years, signing Pujols that last year, you know, and keeping all the veteran guys on board like Waino and Yachty all those years. So what effect did those veteran players leaving have on the morale in the clubhouse? Because we all know that statistically when Yachty was traveling with the team, they played better, you know? And I guess even though he's not a coach, I guess he's just a member of the back office at this moment. Do you anticipate that it'll boost morale, I guess, this year, having him as a member of the organization again?
Yeah, well, I'll answer the Yachty question right away. Yeah, it's definitely gonna boost morale. When you see Yachty around, it's it brings everybody up. Everybody loves Yachty. Yachty loves everybody. There's a certain amount, and this goes for pools too. I guess this will probably answer part of that question. Is there's a certain amount of accountability that those two bring to the organization. Those guys were raised from puppies through the organization, won championships with the organization, and there are certain ways that certain things were done, the way that things were run. And those guys took that very seriously, and as they're on the team and in the clubhouse, they hold guys accountable to that stuff. They hold guys accountable to standards that were set before that Yachty and Poole were there. They took it on and they embraced it themselves and started to hold everybody else as they got older and became veteran type players. And so having Pujols back last year, he was able to help uphold some of those standards. And then obviously Yachty does. I mean, Yachty's, you don't do something right, Yachty's gonna let you know. So as far as what his involvement is gonna be this year, I don't know exactly what that is. Special assistant to Mo, so I believe that's what his title is. So I don't know exactly what that means. I hope he's involved a lot, especially being around the guys. Hopefully he's in uniform and not just special assistant dressed in khakis, which I know you got to just wear khakis, but you know what I mean? I would highly anticipate Yachty's probably going to be involved in something. He loves the game too much. He loves the guys too much to not be involved in helping develop somebody or something, or holding somebody or standards accountable the way we do things.
Will he be at spring training?
That's a great question. If Wanda wants him there. I don't know.
You were talking about the camaraderie and the leadership. I'm not a big sports person, but I know it's a business. So you guys have trainings for people to go through? I mean, is that part of like the leadership training courses? I mean, like, I know we have them in banking, I know we have them in everything else, because people don't always just learn those skills. And yeah, they have to, they're not born with them, they have to learn
like
them.
the baseball teams have psychologists.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have psychologists. Like we have sports performance people that are involved with like just one-on-one stuff or whatever. And we used to have we had a program for the minor leagues. It's called Cardinal Core, and there would be a select group of guys that would go through this program that were selected, by whom I don't know, but there would be, say, 8 guys on every team that would go through this Cardinal Core program that would talk about leadership and help these guys develop as individuals through their game, through leading on the field, through leading off the field, and help them. So that stuff was absolutely intentional, especially when I was managing. I know for a fact Jason Isringhausen, I know you guys know that name with St. Louis. He was a huge help with the Cardinal Core, and Ryan Ledwick was a big part of that for a while. And those guys now got different roles in the organization. But yeah, that's huge. And then obviously it just comes down to like to Goldie, guy like Goldie, like you guys get to see him, when the lights are turned on, but you don't see the amount that he fosters into some of the guys, taking them out to lunch and talking to them in the clubhouse or talking to them in the cages. You don't get to see the stuff that happens. Like in the cages is where a lot of stuff happens. Yeah, they're hitting baseballs and they're learning how to manipulate the ball and the barrel and all that fun stuff, and they're looking at exit velo and they're looking at launch angles and all that fun stuff. But when they're sitting down on the couch waiting for their next turn, they're talking to each other. They're talking shop, whether it's about the game that happened last night and the approach that they had against a certain pitcher, and developing the mind and the mental aspect of it. Goldie and those guys, they pour a lot. Yachty and Pooey pour a lot into those guys. Adam Wainwright, Michaelis, those guys pour a lot into the younger guys that are coming up, because it's a very well documented fact that if you're coming up as a Cardinal, you're trying to leave when you leave, when you retire, and or move on for whatever the reasons, you're trying to leave the organization in a better shape than when you got here. That's a well documented, like we all feel like that. And that's why, like we said, it's not gonna happen again on our time. We are all embarrassed as a staff. You know, we're all disappointed in ourselves and what happened last year, and because we hold those standards too. It just didn't happen. You know, we just didn't perform correctly to hold those standards up. So we're all thankful that we still have a job and we get a second chance. But yeah, that's I mean, the culture and that's how the leadership, it just gets passed down from guy to guy. And it doesn't go every guy. Like there's some guys that don't want it. Some guys that do not want to be leaders. They just want to show up, they want to play their game, and they want to move on. And that's fine. You can have guys like that as long as they're not poisonous. Right? As long as they're not poisonous and they don't start dragging other guys that are on the fence, you know, and don't start dragging those guys down with them. And usually what happens is those guys get weeded out. If you find somebody that's poisonous, they usually get weeded out of the system pretty quick.
So I've been kind of a closet Detroit Lions fan for a long time. I always pull for them on Thanksgiving Day, but they're not very good.
You and my dad both.
But Jared Goff has been very diplomatic about how the city of Detroit has treated him. And if all of you remember, or maybe you don't, if you don't watch some football, but let's say the Los Angeles Rams and the Lions traded quarterbacks.
Right.
And the very first year, as I remember, the guy that went from Detroit to LA, they won the Super Bowl, and Jared Goff was probably feeling like, wow, what a loser I am. Because, you know, all of a sudden he couldn't get it done, but the other guy that replaced them did. But he has been so diplomatic as how he's dealt with it, because he's never said anything negative about the Rams. But yet Detroit has just built him up and made him feel like, you can do this job.
Yeah.
I mean, does that happen in baseball? I know it does.
Absolutely. That's why you see guys leave organizations and go to other organizations and do well. Like I know everybody talks about a Rosa Reina and a Dallas Garcia, you know, leaving us, and then, you know, you got two guys that have done very well for themselves since they left the organization. Sometimes you click with somebody else. Sometimes you just need a change of scenery, you know, and that's why we go and get guys. We go and get guys, and they click with us, and they didn't click somewhere else. So it's there's always different things, different variables, different people, different situations that, you know, help guys get over the hump or sink guys. You know, some guys change organizations and you never hear from them again. So it's there's so many variables in the game, outside of the game, that can affect a player. I mean, you can think of anything from, you know, from family troubles to credit card troubles to, man, a guy finds a girlfriend, settles down, and all of a sudden he's got his head clear instead of, you know, running around at night and stuff like that. Like there's so many silly things that happen. You run into a psychologist or a sports psychologist that you click with them. You know, since that, you think about hitting, that's like the biggest thing, right? Guys leave organizations and they're average hitters, and then all of a sudden they get with one guy that they speak the same language, they think the exact same way about hitting, they can visualize the things the same way, and they talk, and it clicks with just that one guy, and then all of a sudden he takes off offensively, and you think he's, you know, the greatest thing ever. Dallas Garcia is like one of those guys. You know, he actually hit for us. Didn't get much of a chance with us. We released him. Went over to Texas. Texas released him. And then signed him back to a minor league contract. And then he made his way back up to the big leagues. So it doesn't always happen the first time. It doesn't always happen smooth. And then he goes and now he's a World Series champion. I mean, so it's crazy, like, the amount of different humps and bumps in the road that you might have to go through or get over before something actually clicks and you become the person that you're trying to become.
That's everything.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what Like, it doesn't matter the situation or the industry. I mean, that's in every area of life. You meet that one person and it might just click, and you're off and running to, you know, a wonderful ending. Or the opposite way, right? We take the wrong road, or we get ourselves surrounded by the wrong people, or we get inundated with negative thinkers, or whatever it may be. We get sucked into that group that's constantly just like making excuses or whatever, and then all of a sudden you start making excuses, and instead of fixing things, you're looking for, you know, a way out instead of looking for solutions. And you know, that's a huge thing in life.
So, I'm not sure what managers and coaches make, but you're telling people that make 10 times more money than you do what they need to be doing?
Absolutely.
How do you deal with that? Or how do coaches and managers deal with that?
It's holding these guys accountable, right? So it's like, there's certain things that need to be done certain ways. You do it in a professional manner. Some guys, you know, you can kick in the tail. Some guys you gotta wait until the game's over. Some guys you wait till the next morning. Some guys, you know, if it's game altering, if it's something that happens in a game, and it could be game altering. If it happens again, you tell them right away. They might not want to hear it, but it's the best thing they need to hear at the moment, so it doesn't happen again, so it doesn't affect the game. Because in the end, you know, if we're in Memphis in AAA, that's development, right? In St. Louis, it's about winning, plain and simple. So you don't have time to. Sometimes you don't have time to be Mr. Nice Guy. Sometimes you have to get the message across now, like, hey, you can't. That's not a good time to run right there. Don't do it again, you know, or whatever it may be. Whatever.
When the team performs better, it's better for you too.
Exactly. I mean, that's it. So, how do we do it? That's what we get paid to do. Like, that's our. I feel, and you know, that's a good question. It is, because at times you're a psychologist. You're not even.
I was gonna say, do you have to be a psychologist with every single player and figure out what button to push?
Yeah, I'm a sports psychologist without a degree. You know, I haven't got my certificate in it, but I feel like I should. Yeah, because everybody ticks in different manners, right? Like, I think about the way I raise my boys. You know, I can kick my oldest one in the tail and tell him, let's go. But I got to take my second one. I'm like, all right, dude, here's what we have to do. And I've got to sit them down and I've got to explain it, you know, step 1 through step 10. This is how it's got to be done. You can't do it like this. The other one I can say, hey, let's go, clean it up. And he knows what to do. So you get like 25 children, you get a 40-man roster. So you have 40 man, you know, of kids. I say kids, they're grown men. But I treat them like kids, but not in the word of kid, but I treat them like they're my own, because I care for them and I want them all to do well. So, and then you just got to figure out how each one ticks, how they think, how they respond, how they learn. Like, do they learn visually? Do they learn audible? Do they learn through drills, kinesthetic? Do they learn through examples, by showing them examples? And or if it's video work or whatever, like you start taking in all those notes of how these guys learn, and then it helps you teach. Instead of saying it 15 times, you say it 5. Or you show it 5 times, and you know, they pick it up on the 3rd one.
In a clubhouse, sometimes the players that are really important make not a whole lot of money, and sometimes play better than the guys making the big money. Is that a problem? I mean, does that ever become a problem with all the players? I mean, not if you're all on the same page. Not if you got the right culture. Yeah. Like, it's the guys that aren't making the money haven't put their tenure in, or haven't. That's arbitration stuff, and you know, they just haven't put their time in to get paid yet. But if they keep playing well, they're gonna get paid, right? And if the guys that are getting paid well are not playing right, or not playing up to their ability, you know, that's part of the game, and it's up to us as coaches and teammates to help figure out how to get that guy going again, because obviously he's getting paid that money for a reason. So yeah, that's a part of. But if you have the right culture, no.
if you don't have the right culture, I could see how that could turn into a riffraff maybe, depending on the egos that are involved.
Pitch clock.
It's wonderful. It's given me it gives me about probably, if I stay in this for 8 more years, it'll probably give me 10 more years of life for retirement to enjoy. They actually did numbers on it, and don't quote me on the numbers because I forget what it was, but like I was talking with Goldie one day, and he said if we continue to play at this pace, it meant like he would be on his feet like 40 games less throughout the season.
Wow.
That's huge. That's adding years in careers, like years to his career. You know?
He said 26 minutes was the average game, the increase in game speed.
Yeah.
For spring training last year from doing it. So I
Yeah.
don't know what it was at the end of the season, but in spring training it was 26 minutes less. than
Right.
normal.
So think about that, 26 minutes over 100, 26 times 162. Someone else do the math, I'm not very good with math. Okay? Right, so 26 over 162 plus spring training games, plus playoff games. That's a lot of time that you're not on your feet and you're actually getting rest.
70 hours.
70 hours. So divide that by, say, 2.5. 2.5, 3 hours. 28 games. So he's getting 28 games back into his career. So, I mean, you're adding, another quarter season to your guys' careers.
Who do you think it affected the most? Like the pitch clock?
The pitchers?
Negatively. No, I mean negatively.
Negatively, I would say at first the pitchers just getting used to it. Thank goodness we had spring training to play with it and get some guys used to it. I don't know that it affected the hitters that much. Maybe here and there was some stuff. I don't know what the exact numbers are. I know they switched the pitch clock again. They dropped the pitch clock to 18 seconds with a man on base now. It was 20, so you're missing 2 more seconds. So we'll gain 2 more seconds back of our life, which is fine. Like seriously, with some of these on deck routines, and they're getting the pitchers walking around the back of the diamond or the back of the mound, taking their time trying to get them. So like, yeah, it needed to be cleaned up. Like it's the walkout songs taking so long and stuff like that.
Will there be more changes, do you think, or?
I think there is. I'll throw myself under the bus. I haven't paid attention to it this off season a whole lot. I was more involved with my kids, my wife, my dogs. Didn't really pay much attention to baseball unless I had to. So.
Do you study Cardinal players during the off season, or do you try to just clear your mind?
No, I don't. And maybe that could potentially be an area where I could maybe get a little bit better at. I don't, because I go home to my wife and kids and I give them everything that I didn't give them in the previous 9 months. So I leave it alone unless there's just something that I have to, that I need to take up with, might be Ollie calls and he has questions, or sometimes we do projects. Like sometimes I'll I say no, not at all, but sometimes I'll do projects, whether it's, trying to figure out some defensive stuff, with the different positioning and stuff like that, or might go over some stuff with base running and stuff like that. We'll run some different projects, but it won't take me too long to do that stuff. But yeah, I don't go out of my way to look, because the season's already done. So I'll get it all up to date before spring training. That's what these next 2 weeks are for, actually. I'll start looking at some stuff and make sure I've got everything. So I'll, just for example, at the end of last year, the last 2 weeks I spent, I would write things down that I didn't like as far as the defense, the base running, and or situationally that has happened. And I put it in my notes so that now this next week coming up before I leave, I'll go back and I'll look through those notes. I'll refresh my mind about what I didn't like, what I liked, and then that way I go into spring training and I've got a plan of attack on who, what, where, why, and when I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and discuss that with the staff make sure that anybody else has got any plus or minuses, pros or cons they want to add into it, and then we'll put together something and go after it. But yeah, so I say no, but I guess I do stuff along the way so that it's not just something I'm having to constantly dig into.
What are the majority of the players, other than the veteran players that are on the roster, the prospects, like where are most of them from? Are they from AAA, from Memphis, from
All over.
And what do you guys look for as a coaching staff, cause was Jordan Walker not kind of the Cinderella of the team? I mean, he just showed up at spring training and he was there on the roster.
Technically, I don't mind telling you the truth. He wasn't supposed to make the team last year.
Right, yeah.
And because of WBC, we were missing 19 guys in
Right.
spring training. And he got so many at bats and performed so well that he played himself onto the team.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, that's actually number one. That's hats off to our guys that drafted him, because he was drafted in what was that COVID year?
2020.
2020?
I don't know.
So he made it to the big leagues in 3 years. Like, that's unheard of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what all the radio commentators were talking about.
Yeah.
Like, how he just kind of came out of nowhere, which I know that it was 13 different international teams that our players were playing on, I think, for that. But aside from him, because I feel like that was a very unique opportunity for him, what else do you guys look for those guys that just maybe
So there's a bunch of different things. The old school way, the way they used to think about it was you used to have about 1,500 to 2,000 ABs in the minor leagues to go through your lumps and bruises to be developed to be good enough, if your numbers are good enough at AAA, to be considered for the big leagues. Now they run numbers. It's all analytics. They run all kinds of different numbers and situations as kids are being developed to see if so-and-so, his ex-WOBA is meeting up with his WOBA, and if he does this at a certain level, we can move him up to AA. If he does this at a certain level, we can move him up to AAA. Well, if these numbers are saying this in AAA, then he should be able to compete at this level in the big leagues. So they run a lot of different numbers now. It's not just scouting. It's not just
having a good feeling or them having a streak.
Yeah, exactly that. So that's, back in the day, you were my scout, and I'd call you and I'd say, hey, Holly, what do you got? We're down a guy who's performing in Memphis right now, and you might say, hey, so-and-so is doing this right now. He looks real good. He's performed solid for the last month. Here's his numbers. Situationally, he's been able to do this. Defensively, he's not going to hurt us. He's not going to be a superstar. On the bases, he's going to be able to, help us go first to third. He's not going to be a base stealer, but he's going to go first to third. He's going to score on singles, and he's a great clubhouse guy, And I'm like, okay, and I would go to you go to the GM, you go to the whoever needed to be notified. You go up the chain of command, and they'd be like, here's Holly's scouting report. Here on so and so. Here's Tommy's scouting report on so and so, and they'd weigh the pros and cons out, what they could actually use. Maybe over that time of the schedule. So guys don't just get promoted just because they're doing good. It might depend on the schedule that you're facing in the big leagues. That if you're going to face a bunch of left-handed pitchers, you're not going to bring up the left-handed hitter that's doing great, because he's going to do terrible against those left-handed pitchers maybe. So you're looking for the next best right-handed hitter that might be able to fill the outfield role. So there's a lot of different variables. And now with all our analytics and everything like that, plays a lot into it as far as who's doing well down there, who we're going to face coming up in the big leagues, and then who's expected or projected to be able to perform at the level that we need on hitting, defense, base running, pitching.
What is I guess, or how is your job? You coached in the Redbirds for a while, right? So what is the difference, the major difference there, because you said that's development, and the main team is about winning. So how do you approach that differently as a coach in the lower levels and in the big leagues?
So in Memphis, I wasn't necessarily worried about winning. I was worried about making sure certain guys, and I say certain guys, all the guys, were developed in the correct manner. Whether the guy had to get better at base running, I hounded him about base running and then let him go and play defense and let him hit. If the guy needed to get better at hitting, that was the main focus there. He would have to do extra stuff with our hitting guy. They would talk, they would have approach, they would discuss all that. If it was base running, if it was defense, there would be extra sessions. It would be straight developmental stuff. There would be stuff scheduled out for certain guys. As a team, fundamentally, that was huge for us in Memphis. I would hold, 2 or 3, I'd say 3 days a week. We would do some kind of a team fundamental, depending on our schedule with the road and stuff like that, to make sure that the fundamentals were ironed out, so that when they went to the big leagues, they knew what the fundamentals were, because your fundamentals need to be the same from the big leagues to AAA and AA. At those 3 levels, you need to be in unison. So because you can call guys up from AA to the big leagues, so you need to be in unison so that when a guy gets there, you're not going to have to reteach the bunt plays. You're not having to reteach cutoffs and relays. I mean, that stuff should run symmetrically all the way down. And then, so that's what I focused on there. And then, I was blessed those 2 years. We had amazing athletes, both pitching and defense and hitting. And we won 2 championships there because they were amazing athletes and they understood the goal and the fundamental. And it was the way we ran that team with the staff. They understood what the main points were about for those teams, and they took it and ran. And it was about developing those individuals in their areas that they needed to be in to get them to be able to perform at the big league level. And then if we won, we won, and we did. We ran away with 2 titles.
A lot of those players went on up to the Cardinals and were solid players, weren't they?
You could go through those 2 years of those 2 rosters for those 2 years. You could go through, and I would say probably 95% of them are in the big leagues somewhere. That's unheard of. That's silly. That tells you how good. So and then when they get to the big leagues, when you talk about coaching in the big leagues, you're coaching to win. So and it's a little bit of a sticky situation or a different situation now because the guys are coming up younger. So now we're actually having to teach a lot more in the big leagues, which is fine. That's what we're there for. We're coaches, right? But you're also teaching the game to win. You're teaching strategy, from the oomph detail of why you're doing something and how it's going to trickle down to affect the game to
So
win.
when we hear of, teams that call somebody up and then they get sent back, it's to work on those fundamentals and develop things that maybe they're not doing well enough to make the cut. On the main
Possibly.
team. Yeah.
Possibly. It could be because you have situations where, let's say, the easiest one is pitching. Let's say we have, I'll use Jake Ward for example. Jake went up and down a lot for us. So he's got options. So he's got 3 options before he has to actually stay in the big leagues. After the 3rd option, he has to stay in the big leagues, okay? And that's 3 years, not just up and down 3 times in 1 year. That's over 3 years. If he has 3 options, let's just say Jake's our long guy, that's usually what he is. He throws 6 innings, and we get our tails handed to us, and we blew out our bullpen. Well, we need arms for tomorrow to get through. Just say we're getting ready to play LA. We know we're going to take a shellacking, and we need pitching because he has 3 options, and he pitched a bunch. Just say he came in relief, pitched 4 or 5 innings. So he's our long guy. He's not going to pitch again for another 4 or 5 days. We've got to send him out so that we can get a fresh arm back to the big leagues. So sometimes it'll happen with hitters. We might be going into a series where we're going to face a bunch of left-handed pitching, and we might option a guy down to go get a right-handed bat that's going to better serve us off the bench, because we already have what we need. And the guy, the left-handed hitter he's not playing much, he's not getting much opportunity. So we'll give someone else an opportunity to come up and play that could potentially help us win a game, as opposed to just develop.
One question, I'm sorry.
That's okay, let it fly.
So what are your thoughts on our pitching for this year? Because I think as a Cardinal fan, pitching has been a struggle for us for a while. And I know that there were 6 prospects signed at the trade deadline last year, and so how do you feel about those prospects and also about bringing in Sonny Gray and Lance Lynn and all these new guys, like the veteran guys? Like what are your thoughts and what is the organization kind of hope for?
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what these guys can do. I love the veteran leadership that they're bringing in between Sonny and Lance, and obviously Kyle Gibson's going to be in there, and then we went and got Kittredge. So I'm excited to see those guys. Sonny's a different style pitcher that we've been looking for as far as a swing and miss guy. Lance is more a contact guy, bulldog, going to come after you. That plays to our defense. Bush is a pitcher-friendly park, and from what my understanding is that a lot of the home runs that Lance gave up last year supposedly wouldn't leave Bush, so that plays in our hand. And then just Kyle's going to eat up innings. He's a longevity guy. So here's the deal: is like if you have the longevity guys, the guys that can go 5, 6, 7 innings on your starters, that saves your bullpen. That helps you utilize your bullpen in a different manner. So I'm hoping and confident and excited to see that we can use those starters over the long haul and then save our bullpen and keep those guys fresh, for down the stretch, and then see what happens come trade deadline and all that fun stuff. There's so many variables that can happen. So, and then the prospects are the prospects, right? You don't know nothing about them until they get there, until they're developed, until you get to see them pitch and do stuff in the minor league. So you just hope and pray that they develop correctly, I guess is what you want to say. And they develop into the system that you're looking to use for the future.
Was last year the most frustrating year for you as a coach?
Yeah.
I mean, the Cardinals, I don't know how many of you followed the Cardinals, but last year it seemed like whatever it took to lose a game, that's what happened, right? I mean, we got decent starting pitching, and then one of the relief pitchers would give up the key hit, a homer.
Yep.
We were ahead through the 8th inning, and we'd lose it in the 9th. I mean, that's just how do players, how do managers, how do you live with that?
You have to live with it. I mean, it's either that or you quit, right? And I'm not going to quit. So I'm going to keep going. If I get my tail handed to me, I get my tail handed to me. But I'm not going to leave with. So you've got to figure out a way, right? So you try and, when you start off the way we started off last year and started slow, you've always got hope and like, okay, we just need to get that one thing going, and hopefully you get that run. We had that 17-game run 2 years ago. Like at a point in the season, that's what we were hoping for. We're like, all right, let's get us a run going. And you're constantly looking for the positive out of the situation. And then when you get to maybe like the trade deadline, and all of a sudden you're sellers, which is the first time we've sold in who knows how many years. I mean, that's kind of like when it's smack in the face and you're like, all right, so how are we going to salvage the year, right? So you're looking for the positive from there. How are we going to salvage it, and how are we going to get these guys better? Like, once we knew we were completely out of it and there was absolutely zero hope, it was a mind shift of, okay, obviously we're not making the playoffs. So how are we gonna get these guys better over the next month and a half, so that next year when they come into spring training and we've already addressed some of the faults, some of the faults as coaching staff, some of the faults as players, some of the faults on the field, off the field. Like that was our goal, was like, how are we going to get better as a team, as an organization over the next month and a half, so that coming into 2024 we're ready to roll. And that's how you look at that.
How did the trade deadline? It seemed, as a fan, it was a rough first start to the season, but it just seemed like our morale took a plunge at that point, because I guess all of selling, like you said, and all those like signing prospects and things like that you traded for tells the team obviously that the organization's like, okay, we're marking you off and we're moving to next year. Like how hard was that to deal with?
It was not fun.
Because we were already not performing well, and I know that when morale gets down, like it's not just the pitching, it's all areas of the game that suffer. And so, but it just seemed like it went from bad to worse at that point, because everyone was just kind of demoralized.
Yeah, it's tough, and that's where you're at as a coaching staff, where you're trying to like, all right, so we're out of it. You know, how are we going to get better over the next month and a half, as an individual, as a team? Like, that's how you have to approach every day.
And
You know-
being the lovable winners that we are, it is hard to watch a season like that after so many years of success.
I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. And it was constant. You're constantly just looking for the next best, like you're looking for the next situation to get better at, so that it doesn't affect us this year. So I hope we got a lot of that stuff. There was a lot of stuff addressed over that time period, and I'm looking forward to spring training this year to see that we got things ironed out.
I will
Yeah,
stop
absolutely.
asking questions, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's all right.
I got a question. I know like you're around all these pro athletes all the time and they kind of become just normal people to you, you know. But is there anything like you collect? You know, like you wanted to get a certain person's autograph or you wanted to get a certain person's
I
jersey
just
or-
started. I just started for my kids. So like when I played, I didn't collect anything. Matter of fact, I gave everything that I had away, and my wife had to go and buy it back from there was some autograph store in Memphis. She went and bought back a bunch of stuff so that, cause I didn't, like when I was playing, I wasn't married or didn't have kids or anything, so I didn't think about kids or anything back then, so I just gave everything away to my friends and my family and whatever, and then, so long story short, I didn't collect when I was playing. I really didn't collect at all when I was coaching, and then probably over the past couple of years, I really started thinking about my boys, because my boys they've grown up in the clubhouse for the most part their whole lives, and like when you're thinking about Yachty and Pujols and like Ozzie Smith is there, and Willie's like one of my best friends, like.
That's my man.
And then I'll tell you what, there's no better human being on earth. But like when it took me a minute to like get over the fact of asking them, to where it's like, this is not for me, this is for my boys, to be able to enjoy a part of history of this game. And the game it's been our whole lives. So I started collecting the last 2 years for them. I kind of got them some jerseys and stuff like that. So it's, I don't like asking. You know, I just because I'm in it, you know, and I've been through it, and I know what those guys go through, and I know how much they get asked and how much they get pulled away from their actual duties of playing baseball. So it takes a lot for me to like ask, but I'll do it like for special guys, or if one of my sons will ask me like, hey Dad, you think you can get me a Trey Turner ball? And I'm like, you know what? I haven't asked anybody this year. I'll get you a Trey Turner ball. You know, like you go like you do.
If Taylor Swift came, would you get your picture made with Taylor?
My wife would kill me if I didn't. She's all of a sudden she's a Kansas City Chiefs fan. We have never watched football in my house.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you guys for
Yeah,
having me.
thanks so much for coming.
I appreciate it.